Educational Communications and this station present Environmental Directions with Nancy Perlman. On this series, we explore the effects of human influence on the Earth's ecosystems and discuss solutions to environmental problems which affect the quality of life on this planet. Environmental Directions gives you the kind of information you need to help you participate in decisions impacting your community, the nation, and the world. Now, here's your host, Nancy Perlman.
Hello. We are going to be talking about making a cleaner world while saving water with my guest, Yujin Anderson. She is owner and CEO of Steam Americas. She is a minority, woman-owned and operated business specializing in commercial and industrial-grade dry vapor steam machines and accessories that help reduce water usage and chemical consumption. She is a member of the Women's Business Enterprise National Council. She established her company in 2010 in the United States and imports from Korea, and initially catered to the automotive, boat, and aircraft industries. However, she's discovered broader applications, expanded her reach into such sectors as wineries, craft breweries, food processing, manufacturing, hospitality, and now the technology is pivotal in power and nuclear plants, where it aids in reducing radioactive wastewater during decontamination and maintaining turbines. Welcome. It's a pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you, Nancy. Thank you for having me.
You have to explain what dry vapor steam machines are and do. What do they look like? How big are they? How are they incorporated in all these businesses I just mentioned?
The easiest way to describe a dry steam machine would be something that's seen on TV that can be used for cleaning kitchen and so on. But what we sell and what we specialize is a commercial and industrial grade machine. So something like that, it's a small steam machine, but it's on a steroid. The size of our machines typically is around a shopping cart size. Hopefully that gives you an idea.
I didn't mention that you are also finding that this method has shown high effectiveness in combating germs, since dry vapor steam can deactivate most known microorganisms, including viruses, when exposed to temperatures over 175 degrees Fahrenheit. Is it currently being utilized in that way?
Oh, yes, all the time. In fact, that was the main reason why we were able to grow so fastly in the food processing world. They have operational and also food safety challenges. And when it comes to food safety, number one thing is avoiding cross-contamination of foodborne illnesses, such as something that's coming from Listeria, Salmonella, E. coli, and so on. I'm sure you're familiar with those pathogens because we hear them on news. When there's an outbreak, a recall, those are typically mentioned.
How is it actually used in the cleaning process in a restaurant, in a winery, during food processing? When is the machine used and how is it used?
For example, in a food manufacturer, they are using our equipment to better clean and sanitize conveyor belts or any equipment that has a lot of little nooks and crannies that's really hard to clean manually, or there's really no good way of cleaning. Dry steam acts like air, does not act like water. That'll be hot water. Traditionally, hot water, cold water, and chemical combination are used for cleaning. While they can be a good way to clean, oftentimes you are not able to reach every corner. But steam, dry steam more specifically, it acts like air, so it's able to travel with a heat that's lethal temperature and able to kill pathogens like Listeria, Salmonella, E. coli, staph, and so on. In the case of winery, what they do is they feed dry steam into oak barrels, for example, and they are trying to remove yeast strain called Brettanomyces, and that's a very well-known problem among winemakers. This yeast strain tends to grow into the wood stave, and it's hard to get to these strains unless you have steam that can penetrate the pores. Not only you're better sanitizing the barrel, but you're using only 1 to 2 gallons of water to sanitize 60-gallon Bordeaux-style barrels. Traditional way would have spent close to 60 gallons of water and chemicals. That's a great advantage for all ways around.
How else can the machine be used to eliminate toxins?
The steam has lethal temperature that can kill pretty much almost anything given the exposure time and consistent of temperature. One of the ways we can help in the recent listeria outbreak in deli meat, for example, is that our customers who in that industry, they would tent the entire equipment that slices or processes meat. So it'd be the grinding machine or the slicers, meat slicers. And they can tent the whole equipment and they feed the steam to make sure it reaches the lethal temperature, typically well above 180 degrees. The steam's air-like property ensures that the heat is delivered to every nooks and crannies of the surface, making sure the entire thing is sterilized.
How is dry vapor steam used in power plants?
In power plant settings, the steam can use in a few different ways. One example would be to maintain the gear parts of turbines and other equipment that's very susceptible to PSI of water or air or moisture. And sometimes we replace the chemical wipe down or sandblasting, which is not great for equipment's life expectancy. So that's where steam comes in and able to help with maintenance of the big equipment like turbines. On the other hand, in nuclear plants, each time a employee or supply touch the radioactive material, it has to be decontaminated. And typically the way to do it is using water. But if steam can do the same job with a lot less water, it's so much better because at the end of the day, radioactive water has to be buried somewhere, and we can reduce the amount of that by 90%.
In making your machines, are your factories making sure that they are not polluting the air, the water, the land? Is it sustainable operations?
Absolutely. I would say in South Korea, where these machines are made, their standards of environmental rules, I find it much more stricter than here. They have local municipality or sometimes beyond government people coming out to check the facility very regularly.
What is your competition? You started in Korea, you've brought it to the United States. Are there other companies doing the same thing? And what about in other parts of the world?
There are definitely other steamer manufacturers and suppliers. I would say that the U.S. was a bit slower in adapting steam as a part of cleaning and sanitization solutions. We are here to hopefully fast-track that. I would like to think that we are different from our competitors because we truly care about the big picture here, and that is contributing to the global sustainability, not just to make a few bucks here and there.
I have a feeling that you are looking at every sector of our life and trying to figure out ways to incorporate this cleaning technology. You're exploring ways to improve the cleaning and sanitation of wheelchairs. Seems to be a very critical need, but a rather unmet need.
Correct. You'd be surprised to know that there's really no good way to find a service that offers it. I actually met this lady. She's from the San Diego area, and she used to have an able body but got into a horrible accident. And currently she is not able to move waist down. And now she relies on this very fancy motorized wheelchair that costs $50,000 or more. And she told me that she would go do a car wash, or she even contacts the wheelchair sales and service company, but they would not clean those for her even if she offers to pay them, because there really isn't a good method to do it, and there's a liability issue because they don't want to hurt very moisture and pressure sensitive parts. So she's not able to get it even cleaned, even if she's willing to spend money for it. And she came up with a business idea of cleaning wheelchairs because she knows tens of thousands of people in the same boat as her, and they need a service. It's like they're sitting on them all day, except for when they go to bed. And it's you are wearing this clothes or underwear, not being able to wash it for years, if you can imagine that, right? So I decided to help her start the business with providing our products to her. But there's so many ways we can better lives of people who need it, whether it's from the environmental standpoint or people like in the community of disabled people.
Certainly important to find uses for your steamers. Your products align with the environmental, social, and governance, or ESG objectives. You are certified in so many different ways, WBENC, and you offer ASME stamp products alongside certifications like UL's CSA, SASO, and CE. I don't know what all those initials stand for, but you want to be in compliance with labor water laws. You want to be sure that your technology isn't polluting the air, the land, the water in terms of its manufacture and its use. What aspects of certification apply to your product of steam cleaning technology?
Some of the certifications are more for product safety. They are safe to use within the U.S., within the North American electrical codes and so on. Some of them are for safety of the users. So it's essentially workers who will be using this equipment in a place of employment. Those are, I think, in my mind, they're very basic things. And unfortunately, I don't think there's enough enforcement to avoid selling those products who don't have the basic certifications, and there are so many online. But to me, what's more important is using this technology, we can keep our workers safe, not necessarily because of the certifications. But what I mean by that is, for example, and I said earlier, we have many winery customers. One of the things that whenever I get to visit or interview the winemakers, common things that come up is that they're just so happy to be using steam over what they used to use, oftentimes an ozone generator, to sanitize barrels, because not only it's classified as a hazmat, so there is process and training and et cetera that come with that, which is more cumbersome to run a business. But more importantly, people, including the winemaker, him or herself, their workers no longer complain about getting headaches, because that's such a known side effect of being exposed to ozone. It not only makes better wine products, but it really keeps our workers safe. The same goes for workers who work in many food manufacturing facilities. They used to clean the food equipment. They used to disassemble each part, having to put their fingers in little corners and potentially endangering themselves. And now we can convert their cleaning process from COP, clean out of place, into CIP, clean in place. So not only saves time, water, but employees are better off in terms of safety.
Because you are using a dry vapor steam product, you claim to have helped conserve over 2 million gallons of water annually, and that minimizes wastewater. If there's more use of this technology, I assume more water will be saved. That's a very important goal, isn't it?
It is very important. And on top of that, when you use less water, there is so much less harm you're doing to this planet. For example, since we don't use much water, there is literally very little to zero wastewater runoff. And the wastewater, it goes to our groundwater or to the storm drains. Those are being eliminated, right? So that's a big part of it. Also, being able to rely on the natural heat instead of chemicals. For example, we help a lot of customers control weed. Typically, it's done by chemicals like herbicides called atrazine and so on. This is type of chemical we don't want in our groundwater system. So we are helping in that front. There is so much secondary savings. For example, it takes water to process wastewater. It takes much less energy to boil, for example, 1 to 2 gallons of water instead of 60 gallons of water when you try to clean one wine barrel. That goes without saying how much energy you're saving in the process. Also, when I think about my more owner-operator-based contract cleaners, they have to carry water they have to use for their cleaning jobs. A pressure washer can use up to, or sometimes more than, 5 gallons per minute of water, whereas our machine uses about 0.08 gallons of water. So that's basically comparing 8 to 10 ounces of water, like cup of water that you would drink, versus that 5-gallon water jugs. That not having to carry as much water in their vehicle, that saves them gas, but also emission.
You are certainly an advocate for a waste-free world through sustainable cleaning solutions, and I do want to mention that you do have a philanthropic aspect to your operations. You've contributed to disaster recovery efforts, such as donating products in response to recent storms in Florida, and there's so many other disasters in which you can be assisting and helping. If people want to contact you and find out more about the dry vapor steam technology, how do they reach you?
You can visit our website at steam.am, and that is STEAM.am.
You have a very innovative new technology that certainly is something that companies need to consider using confusing. Thank you so very much for explaining it to us. Thank you for being my guest.
Thank you for having me. It was my pleasure.
I have been speaking to Yujin Anderson, who is the owner and CEO of STEAM Americas. I'm Nancy Perlman. Thank you very much for joining us, and do tune in again next week.
If you would like free information about these environmental issues, go to www.ecoprojects.org or call 310-559-9160. Environmental Directions with your host, Nancy Perlman, is a community affairs program of the nonprofit organization Educational Communications and this station.